Archangel Michael says, "Today, I'm very angry. You have made a serious mistake, and though his heart aches, he cannot remain silent. Don't dare to ignore the whisper of your soul, the stirring within that tells you something is out of place. His voice carries no thunder this time, only a sorrowful echo that comes when a loving guardian sees someone he cherishes begin to drift away from the path that was made for light. You may not even realize the weight of the error, but heaven sees what is hidden, and God, in His unending mercy, is calling you home through this holy flame of truth." Type Amen if you believe. You may have spoken words you thought were harmless or acted in ways that seemed small in the moment, but heaven never judges by size, only by heart. And when your heart drifts too far, when your spirit forgets its source, even the strongest angels grieve. Not in condemnation, but with longing, because they see how easily one step off the path becomes 2, then 10, and then suddenly, you are lost and hurting without knowing why. Today, the anger of Archangel Michael is not the rage of war, but the deep ache of a protector watching someone he loves flirt with danger, spiritual danger that lies quietly, disguised in comfort, pride, distraction, and forgetfulness. Every moment you choose silence over prayer, every time you let fear speak louder than faith, every time your heart grows cold to the cries of others, the heavens tremble. Not in vengeance, but in sorrow. Because you were made for more than this. You were made in the image of a God who wrapped himself in flesh, walked among the broken, and offered love without condition, even to those who spat in his face. When you forget that kind of love, when you live without reflecting it, something inside you slowly dies, and that is what brings the tears of heaven. Type 222 to open doors of abundance. But listen closely, for this message is not meant to drown you in guilt, nor to shame you into hiding. The voice of God is never harsh for the sake of fear, but firm with purpose and overflowing with grace. Jesus did not come to condemn the world, but to heal it, and that healing begins with honesty. Not perfection, not pretending, just honesty. You don't have to fix everything today, but you must open your heart. Let the sorrow of your choices draw you closer, not further away. Let the truth of what you've ignored, neglected, or rejected be the soil from which faith grows again. What if you could unlock a secret brain wave that top scientists discovered inside the hippocampus, the very switch that signals wealth and abundance? Hidden from the public for decades, this breakthrough can rewire your mind to attract prosperity faster than you imagined. Picture the stress of bills replaced with financial freedom and new opportunities. Every delay is a missed blessing, and those who act now are already walking into the wealth you deserve. Step forward before the door closes. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate this ancient money wave and step into abundance today. You are not alone in your mistake. The saints were never saints because they were flawless. They became saints because they fell and rose, cried and hoped, failed and turned back. Again and again. What matters is not how far you've strayed, but whether you will return. God is not waiting with a sword, He is waiting with a robe, a ring, a feast. Even now, the angels are watching, holding their breath, hoping that you will say yes to beginning again. Not with fear, but with courage. Not by your own strength, but by grace that never runs out. So, if your heart is heavy, if your spirit feels numb or lost, if you've looked in the mirror and wondered where the light in your eyes went, do not hide. Let today be the day you stop pretending you don't need help. Let this moment be the one where you allow heaven to pull you from the shadows. Archangel Michael is not here to punish you, he is here to remind you who you are. You are still a child of God, still loved, still chosen, still welcome at the table of mercy. The path back will not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. One quiet prayer. One act of kindness. One tear offered to God in silence. That's all it takes to begin again. The heavens are not far, they are watching with hope in their eyes. And Jesus, gentle and strong, is already walking toward you, arms open, heart ready. You may have made a serious mistake, but His love is more serious still. His mercy is wider. His grace is deeper. His promises do not break. This is not the end. It never was. The fire in you can burn again. The light can return. You can be restored, not only to what you were before, but into something greater. You were never meant to carry this burden alone. Lay it down now, not because you have to, but because you are loved enough to be free. Type 1111 if you trust in God. You see, it is not anger born from pride or wrath that fills Archangel Michael today. It is a fierce, protective ache, the kind that only a guardian of God's children could carry. He has been by your side through shadows you never saw, shielding you from battles you didn't know were waged on your behalf. And yet, even the strongest protection cannot override your free will, and when your spirit begins to dim, when your faith begins to fade behind the curtain of doubt, He must speak, because love does not stay silent when danger creeps in. This moment you are living right now, this quiet pause between conviction and return, is sacred. It is holy ground, not because it is comfortable, but because it is where grace waits to be welcomed back. God does not slam doors. He waits, gently, patiently, with a love that burns but never forces. The anger you feel echoing in Michael's cry is the sound of a warrior calling a soul back from the brink, pleading not with weapons, but with truth. And that truth is this: you are not too far gone. You are not beyond repair. But you must stop pretending that all is well when your soul is quietly aching for God. The world will always offer distractions, noise, things that numb but never heal. You may have poured your energy into things that sparkle but don't shine, into success that leaves your heart hollow, into moments that seemed beautiful but faded too quickly. Those choices were your mistake, not because you are evil, but because you forgot what you were made for. You were created to walk hand in hand with your Maker, to breathe in hope and breathe out love, to live in a light that no shadow can overcome. When you trade that for lesser things, heaven must speak. Type 555 if you're ready to receive God's light again. Do not carry shame for the path you've taken, but don't deny it either. Let the sorrow break open the hardened soil of your heart so something beautiful can grow again. You cannot heal what you do not reveal. And God, in His mercy, never demands perfection, only truth. Only honesty. Only your willingness to turn back, no matter how far you've wandered. That's where healing begins. That's where the angels rejoice. If you could see yourself through heaven's eyes right now, you would weep, not in despair, but in awe. Because even in your wandering, even in your mistake, you are still seen with tenderness. God is not holding a list of your failures. He is holding a robe of restoration, a ring of belonging, a heart ready to embrace you with the same love that formed the stars. The fire of Archangel Michael's voice is not here to burn you, it is here to wake you. Because the days are precious, and your soul is far too valuable to be lulled into forgetting who you are. There are moments in life when you cannot feel God, when the prayers feel dry and the silence feels like rejection. These are the moments when many begin to retreat, slowly, gently, thinking it's harmless to drift just a little. But that little drift becomes distance, and distance becomes disconnection, and soon the soul begins to ache for something it cannot name. You try to fill it with noise, with comfort, with accomplishments, with people, but nothing holds. Nothing fills the God-shaped ache that sits beneath it all. This is the mistake many make, and it is one heaven cannot overlook. Not because God is angry, but because God is love. And love cannot stand by while its child walks into spiritual starvation. Archangel Michael is not thundering down to punish you, he is standing beside you, with the strength of 10,000 angels, whispering through the quiet of your conscience, "Come back before this goes any deeper." He sees where this road leads, and it breaks him, not because you are unworthy, but because you are so deeply loved. A mysterious 9-word prayer once sealed inside a private government vault is now resurfacing, and people everywhere are seeing financial breakthroughs overnight. Experts say it triggers a long silent part of the human brain responsible for abundance and wealth attraction. It takes less than 30 seconds to repeat, yet it's turning struggle into prosperity. Thousands are reporting cleared loans, sudden cash inflows, and unexpected blessings. Click the link in the description and comments before this secret disappears again. Sometimes it takes a sacred interruption to open your eyes again. Sometimes the stillness is God's way of asking you to stop and feel what you've been avoiding. You have not ruined everything. You are not cast out. But you must be willing to turn your face toward the light again. The heavens cannot force your heart to open, but they are waiting with fire in their wings for the moment you lift your eyes. Just one moment of surrender, and everything can change. Type 333 if you believe in God's grace. Jesus is not waiting with judgment in his hands. He is waiting with healing. The tears you've held back, the weight you've tried to carry alone, the distance you've pretended not to notice, he sees it all. And still, he calls you by name. Still, he remembers your voice. Still, he stands at the door and knocks, even when you're not sure you're ready to answer. This is not about rules. This is about your heart. This is about the aching, beautiful truth that you were made for love, and nothing else will ever satisfy. You may feel broken, but brokenness is the place where light enters. You may feel tired, but that is where peace is most precious. God is not calling you to fix everything overnight. He is simply asking you to be honest, to come as you are, to lay down the burden and just be with him again. The angels are not shocked by your struggles. They are moved by your courage to rise. Even now, as you read these words, heaven sees the shift happening in your soul. There is still time. There is still grace. The voice of Archangel Michael is a reminder that the battle for your spirit is never over, but neither is the love that fights for you. You are not a lost cause. You are a beloved soul being called back to the arms of the one who never stopped waiting. Type 777 to embrace healing. You were never meant to carry so much on your own. Yet, you did. Out of fear, or pride, or weariness. You thought silence was easier than surrender. You thought keeping your heart guarded was safer than trusting again. But with each step away, something inside you began to fade. Your joy felt thinner. Your hope quieter. And the voice of God became harder to hear, not because he stopped speaking, but because your soul was overwhelmed by the noise of everything else. Archangel Michael saw this shift. He saw the slow turning of your spirit, and though the world around you stayed the same, heaven wept. His anger is not cruel. It is not cold. It is the heartbreak of a protector who knows how easily the enemy works through distraction, shame, and silence. One small compromise. One ignored whisper. One hardened prayer. And slowly, the fire that once burned in your heart becomes a flicker, then a memory. Michael cannot be still in the face of that loss. He cannot remain quiet when a soul so deeply loved is slipping into numbness. But listen, because in this moment, all is not lost. The hand of Jesus still reaches for you, not with disappointment, but with longing. You are not forgotten. The road back has not disappeared. The angels have not turned away. In fact, they are closer than ever, leaning in, praying you will say yes to coming home, not to a place, but to the presence of God that has never stopped pursuing you. Type 1616 to welcome blessings. There is no shame in turning around. There is no weakness in admitting you've drifted. In fact, it takes more courage to return than to run. Heaven honors that kind of bravery. Jesus himself walked roads filled with rejection, sorrow, and pain, just to make sure you would never walk your own road alone. Every tear you've cried, every burden you've held, every moment you felt invisible, he has carried it all with you, even when you didn't notice. What matters now is that you feel the stirring again. That quiet nudge inside your heart, that warmth that feels like memory and hope all at once, it is him. It is love, calling you back to life. You are not being asked to become someone else. You are being invited to return to who you truly are, a child of God, held, wanted, chosen, and destined for light. The path is still here. Not paved in perfection, but in mercy. Not walked alone, but hand in hand with the one who never left. The mistake does not cancel the calling. The detour does not erase the destination. Grace will always be stronger than guilt, and love will always lead you home. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to your turning point, not as a judge, but as a brother in the battle for your soul. Type 1010 to step into divine protection. Archangel Michael does not come today with judgment burning in his voice. He comes with an ache that runs deep, because he has seen what your soul was meant to become, and he sees how far from that beauty you've drifted. It didn't happen in a single moment. It happened in 100 small choices, each one pulling you just a little further. A prayer skipped here. A truth pushed aside there. A growing comfort in silence, even when that silence was not filled with peace. But heaven has not turned its face from you. God has not stopped whispering your name into the winds. Jesus has not pulled his love away. Instead, even now, the Spirit of God is moving softly, pressing into your soul with that unmistakable weight of mercy. And in the middle of the brokenness, Archangel Michael raises his voice, not to shame, but to shake you gently awake. Because time is precious. Because your heart was made for more. It is not too late. The door has not closed. And the arms of Jesus remain wide open, just as they were when he first called you his. He remembers the first time you cried in prayer. He remembers every quiet moment when you believed with all your heart. He remembers the spark in your eyes when you sang his name. And though you may have buried those moments under layers of doubt or pain or busyness, they still live inside you, waiting to be reignited. Type 1212 if you walk by faith. God is not asking you to fix everything. He is not waiting for you to be perfect. He is only asking for your heart. The very heart that's been through disappointment, confusion, fear, and shame. The heart that may feel small now, but still beats with purpose. He wants that heart. All of it. Because he alone can restore what's been broken. He alone can bring healing where the world only offered survival. Michael knows the danger of waiting too long. He knows how easy it is for one delay to become a lifetime of distance. That's why his message comes now, with clarity and force, yet wrapped in love. You are not being condemned, you are being pursued. This is not about punishment. This is about promise. God's promise to never let go. His promise to bring beauty from ashes. His promise to make all things new, including you. Buried deep in forgotten archives, a 9-word phrase once hidden from the public is now transforming ordinary lives. Neuroscientists call it a wealth frequency activator, because it awakens a part of the brain that naturally draws prosperity. It takes just seconds to speak, but the change can last a lifetime. People are waking up debt-free and financially secure. The page could vanish at any moment. Click the link before it's gone for good. If the tears come, let them. If your heart stirs, listen. If your soul aches for more, lean into it. That ache is holy. That stirring is sacred. That longing is heaven reaching for you. And you are allowed to reach back. Even if it's messy. Even if it's slow. Even if all you can say is, God, help me. That is enough to move the heavens. That is enough to begin again. The mistake was never that you stumbled. It was in believing you had to stay down. But now, the angels are ready. Your story is not over. And God is still writing it, with mercy in his ink and love in every line. Type 1414 if you believe God is guiding you. There is a quiet kind of pain that only the angels understand, a sorrow that comes when they witness a soul slowly starving without even noticing the hunger. Archangel Michael has watched your spirit become weary, not because you are weak, but because you have been trying to carry everything on your own. He has watched as your joy grew faint, as your trust began to crack under the weight of life's pressures, and as the noise of the world drowned out the gentle voice of your Savior. This is not what God wanted for you. You were created for more than survival. You were made to live close to his heart, to rest in his presence, to breathe in his peace and pour out his love. But somehow, somewhere, you let go, not all at once, but slowly, silently. Maybe it was after a hurt that left you feeling betrayed. Maybe it was during a season of waiting that never seemed to end. Or maybe it was just the exhaustion of giving so much and feeling so unseen. But let these words reach into that hidden place inside you, the place that still longs for God even if you've forgotten how to say it. Let this be the moment where you stop running, where you stop numbing the ache with things that only leave you emptier. Let Archangel Michael's voice remind you that heaven has not forgotten you, and God is still calling you home, not to shame, not to judgment, but to rest, to healing, to love that has never once let go. Type 1818 if you trust in God's timing. There is no wound too deep for Jesus to heal. No silence too long for him to break. No mistake too heavy for his mercy to carry. He is not asking for perfection. He is simply asking for your yes. Yes to letting him back in. Yes to trying again. Yes to believing that your story is not finished. Even now, he stands beside you, not with anger, but with tears in his eyes, whispering your name like a song he never stopped singing. You may have walked through seasons of darkness, but the light has never stopped reaching for you. You may have questioned your worth, but heaven has never stopped calling you beloved. And though you may feel distant, the truth is, one breath, one whispered prayer, one tear offered in honesty is enough to bring you back into the arms that have always been open. The anger of Archangel Michael is not born from disappointment, it is born from the depth of his devotion to you, his fierce longing to see you whole again, alive again, close to the God who shaped you with his own hands. He will not stay silent when he knows your soul is hurting. He will not stand back while you settle for a life far beneath the joy you were made for. Type 1919 to receive miracles. The truth is, the mistake was never about a single moment. It was the slow fading of your connection to God, the way you stopped reaching, stopped listening, stopped expecting him to move. It happened so quietly that even you may not have noticed. You kept smiling. You kept moving forward. But your soul grew dim, and the fire that once burned with joy began to flicker. That is what breaks the heart of heaven, not your flaws, but your forgetting. Forgetting how loved you are. Forgetting how near God has always been. Forgetting that his love was never something you had to earn. Michael's sorrow is not because you failed. His sorrow is because you began to believe the failure defined you. But you are not your worst moment. You are not your shame. You are not the silence you slipped into when you thought no one cared. You are still the child God chose. You are still the soul heaven fights for. And today, Michael calls to you with the same strength that shattered darkness long ago, because your soul matters that much. The world around you will try to keep you numb. It will offer distraction, comfort, and noise, but none of those things can bring the healing your heart truly longs for. Only God can do that. Only the presence of Jesus, wrapped around your pain like a soft and steady light, can bring life where there has been emptiness. He is not asking you to climb a mountain. He is asking you to take a single step. A step toward him. A step back to where you once felt safe, known, and loved beyond reason. Type yes to affirm. Let this be the moment you choose healing over hiding. Let this be the day you say, God, I don't know where to begin, but I want to begin again. That alone will shake the heavens. That alone will send angels rejoicing. Because grace is never far. Mercy is never locked behind walls. The gates of heaven are wide open, and all of heaven is waiting, not for perfection, but for your presence. Archangel Michael's message is not one of fear, it is a message of hope wrapped in fierce, unwavering love. It is a cry for your soul to remember who you are and whose you are. No matter what you've done, no matter how far you've gone, the invitation remains, come home. Not because you've earned it, but because you've always belonged. Not because you deserve it, but because God's love refuses to let go. Type 666 if you trust Jesus. Sometimes it is not one great fall that breaks a heart, but the slow crumbling under the pressure of pretending everything is fine. You kept walking. You smiled when needed. You did your best to look strong, even when inside, your faith was unraveling thread by thread. And though you may have survived the days, your soul stopped breathing in the truth that once made it light. The mistake wasn't in being weak. It was in thinking you had to hide your weakness from God, as if His love couldn't bear the weight of your doubt. What if a simple 7-minute sound frequency could awaken a forgotten brain signal designed to pull wealth toward you like a magnet? Backed by shocking CIA files and neuroscience, this discovery is now changing lives everywhere. Think of debts melting away, promotions arriving, and abundance flowing freely. This is the one moment that can rewrite your future, but only if you claim it now, because hesitation will only keep you chained to the same struggles. Click the link in video description and comments below to experience the hidden wealth wave and let your financial destiny shift in your favor today. Archangel Michael's voice trembles with both strength and sorrow because he sees how deeply you've tried to carry what you were never meant to bear alone. He sees the guilt you can't seem to shake, the fear you hide behind your silence, the shame that whispers you are too far gone. And he cannot stand still while that lie wraps around your spirit. He speaks now not to accuse you, but to shatter that lie, to remind you that you are still a soul worthy of love, of healing, of a fresh start. Jesus never looked for perfection in the people he walked beside. He touched the broken, sat with the outcasts, and embraced the lost, not after they were whole, but while they were still in pieces. He does the same now. He does not wait for your healing to begin before he reaches out. He becomes the very beginning of it. And all he asks is your heart, honest and open, no matter how scarred or tired it feels. Type 2323 if you agree. You may think your mistake has closed a door forever, but God's doors do not shut like the world's do. He does not build walls to keep you out. He tears them down to bring you back in. All it takes is a whisper. A moment. A crack of surrender that lets His light pour through. You don't need the right words. You don't need to clean yourself up. You only need to say, God, I need you, and He will come. Not in anger, but in love so fierce and faithful it will undo you. Archangel Michael fights not just with sword, but with the fire of heaven's love. He fights for your soul to remember who you are, not a failure, not forgotten, not unworthy, but a child of God, treasured beyond understanding, and still held in His embrace. The angels have not walked away. Jesus has not turned His face. The mistake may have slowed your journey, but it did not end it. God's mercy is not fragile. It does not expire. It is new even now, ready to wash over every part of you that aches to begin again. Type 222 to open doors of abundance. The world taught you to be strong in ways that made you numb. It taught you to push past your brokenness, to wear a smile even when your soul was silently collapsing. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that God never asked you to carry your wounds alone. That forgetting became the mistake, not because you failed Him, but because you denied yourself the one place your heart could truly be safe. Heaven saw it. And Archangel Michael wept, not because you disappointed God, but because He saw how far your spirit was drifting from healing. You've been running on empty, searching for something to fill the quiet spaces. But no success, no distraction, no human voice can replace the still, holy presence of the One who made you. You can hide from others. You can even hide from yourself. But God sees through every mask, every wall, every attempt to look okay when you're barely holding on. And still, He stays. He watches. He waits. The mistake didn't begin in rebellion. It began in weariness. You were tired of asking. Tired of waiting. Tired of trying to feel something that used to come so easily. And that is when the distance began. Not with a scream, but with silence. Not with a storm, but with a quiet fading. You didn't stop believing, but you stopped reaching. And that is where Michael's voice breaks through, because he knows the danger of living numb to God's presence. Type 2020 to claim miracles. This is not about guilt. This is about awakening. Your soul is still alive beneath the dust. There is still fire under the ashes. You have not ruined the chance to come home. In fact, heaven is already preparing the welcome. Jesus doesn't stand at a distance, waiting for you to crawl back in shame. He comes to meet you, right where you are, lifting the weight of your burden before you even realize you're being held. You don't need to feel worthy. You don't need to feel strong. You only need to be willing. That quiet, fragile yes in your spirit is enough to move heaven. It's enough to stir the angels. It's enough to call mercy down like rain. And once you say yes, healing begins, not all at once, but piece by piece, tear by tear, breath by breath. Archangel Michael is not here to remind you of your failure. He's here to remind you of your future. He's here to remind you that you were born for glory, not despair, for light, not confusion, for belonging, not isolation. You may have lost your way, but God has never lost you. And right now, the arms that shaped the stars are reaching out once more, not to punish, but to restore. Not to shame, but to embrace. There is something sacred about realizing how far you've drifted, not to bring shame, but to bring clarity. It's in that moment of honest reflection that healing can begin. God never turns away from those who fall, He runs toward them. Every step you took away from Him, He counted. Every tear you held in, He caught. And now, He's inviting you, gently but firmly, to stop hiding behind the noise and return to the quiet presence that once made you feel alive. What if the missing piece to financial success wasn't luck, but a hidden frequency inside your brain waiting to be switched on? Once activated, this ancient signal unleashes waves of prosperity, opening doors to opportunities you never thought possible. From sudden windfalls to long-awaited breakthroughs, it's transforming lives daily. Want to see how? Click the link in the video description and comments below to tap into the money magnet brain wave and begin your journey today. Others are already awakening this hidden signal and watching their lives transform. Do not be the one left behind while abundance passes you by. Archangel Michael speaks with the strength of heaven, but his voice carries deep compassion. He has guarded you in moments you never saw, stood beside you when you wandered in fear, and prayed over you when your faith went silent. But now, his sorrow rises, because he sees the danger in staying disconnected. The world may seem to offer comfort, but it cannot heal what only God's love can touch. You were created to be in communion with your Maker, and no amount of pretending, working, or waiting will replace that holy connection. The mistake didn't change your identity. You are still a child of God. You are still written into the palm of His hand. But you've been walking through a dry season, and your soul knows it. You may have smiled through the pain, but heaven saw the nights you couldn't pray, the mornings you didn't want to rise, the moments you questioned if God still hears you. He does. He always has. And Archangel Michael is here now to remind you, it is not too late. Type Amen if you believe. Jesus does not call the perfect. He calls the willing. And right now, He is calling you, not to be flawless, but to be honest. Not to perform, but to rest. He wants the real you, the one who has been bruised, confused, and exhausted, because only the real you can receive the fullness of His healing. You don't need to be strong to return. You only need to be open. You may feel like you've wandered too far, but every step you take back toward God will be met with open arms. Not just forgiveness, but celebration. Not just peace, but purpose. What the enemy meant to use to destroy you, God can use to rebuild you. Your wounds are not wasted. Your story is not over. You are still part of the plan, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can separate you from the love that never let go. Type 555 if you're ready to receive God's light again. The mistake may have started with a moment of neglect, a missed prayer, a hardened thought, a step taken in pride or pain, but what matters now is not how it began. What matters is that God wants to end it with restoration. You are not too far, and you are not too broken. What has been damaged can be healed. What has been silenced can sing again. And what feels lost can still be found. God is not like people who give up when you falter. He stays. He waits. He remembers who you really are, even when you forget. He remembers the purity in your heart before the world hardened it. He remembers the quiet way you used to speak to Him when no one else was around. He remembers the faith that once lit up your whole life. And even now, in your wandering, He looks at you with the same love, the same tenderness, the same longing to bring you back into His embrace. Archangel Michael is not speaking from anger, but from urgency. He knows the danger of delay, how easily time can become distance and distance can become numbness. He sees that you are tired of pretending. He knows your soul is still quietly hoping that grace is real, that mercy hasn't run out. And He wants you to know, with absolute certainty, that the answer is yes. Grace is here. Mercy is overflowing. And God is still calling you by name. Type 1313 if you know God is with you. This is your invitation. Not to be someone else, but to come as you are. To lay down the guilt you've carried like a second skin. To stop hiding from the one who already knows everything and still chooses you. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be willing. Even the smallest whisper of surrender opens a floodgate of healing. Even one honest prayer can move heaven. You were not created to live in regret. You were not formed in the image of God to wander through life with your heart half alive. You were made to walk in the light, to love deeply, to live with purpose, and to rest in the presence of your Savior. And all of that is still possible. Every piece of who you are is welcome in the arms of Jesus, your questions, your flaws, your past, your silence. Nothing disqualifies you from the love that was poured out for you on the cross. God never needed your perfection, only your presence. But the mistake has been letting shame speak louder than love, letting guilt convince you that you had to fix everything before returning. That is not the voice of your Father. That is not the way of Jesus. God is not standing far off, waiting for you to crawl back in pain. He is right beside you, even now, speaking softly into the broken places, asking you to stop running, to stop pretending, to just rest in Him again. You've looked for comfort in so many places, people, distractions, achievements, but nothing has given your soul the peace it craves. That peace is not lost. It is simply waiting for you to come home. Heaven is not angry because you've been weak. Heaven is broken-hearted because you've believed you had to stay that way. Archangel Michael has watched you in your quietest moments, and he knows, you don't want to stay distant. You miss the nearness of God, even if you haven't had the words to say it.